Welcome students to the next lecture on pollination topic. Today we are going to discuss the agents of pollination. We have seen that in self-pollination no much agents are required to transfer the pollen grains, but for cross-pollination, transferring of pollen grains from one plant to the another, certain agents are required. So we have two types of agents, abiotic agents and biotic agents. Under abiotic agents, we have wind and water, and under biotic agents, we have snails, insects, birds, bats, and various other animals. If we talk about for wind pollination, palm plant is the best example, and the phenomena is called as anemophily. For water, Vallisneria is the best example, and the phenomena is called as hydrophily. Now for insects, salvia being the best example, and the phenomena is called as entomophily. Bauhinia or bombyx, the best examples are there for bird pollination, and the phenomena is called as ornithophily. Under bats pollination, chiropterophily is the phenomena, and for snails and slugs, aroids are the best example, and the phenomena is malacophily. For ants, macrophily is the best terminology given. To start with, we have water as the agent, and the various characteristics adapted by the flower, they are that the flowers, they have to be very small and very simple with not bright petals or larger petals. It has to be a simple flower having no nectar, no fragrance. The pollen grains, they have to be light, and the flower and all the characteristics of the flower along with the pollen grains, they have to be waterproof so that they can easily float on the water and meet with the very long stigma which is waiting for the pollen grains, which is very sticky to capture the pollen grains. For water pollination, Vallisneria is the best example, and a very wonderful feature regarding this is that for Vallisneria, the plant is dioecious. The male plant is different and the female plant is different. And the staminate flowers in a male plant, they get detached from the plant and float above the water in the bud stage and wait till they meet the female flowers. In case of the female plant, the female flowers or the pistillate flowers, their petiole is coiled, but as the flowers mature, the uncoiling of the petiole helps the flower to come above the surface, and as the male and the female flower come in contact, the male flowers open the bud, the flowers bloom, and the anthers, they sprinkle the pollen grains on the stigma of the flower. Isn't it a wonderful feature, students? See, now the next agent is the wind. For wind pollinated flowers, the flowers, they have to be odorless, colorless, or the petals, if they are, either they are absent or the petals are hairy, so that there is no hindrance of the petals for the transfer of pollen grains to the stigma. No nectar is required because no biotic agent is coming, and the pollen grains, they have to be very light and small and very dry, so that they can be smoothly carried away with the wind and they land up on the hairy and feathery stigma. Now the next agent is the biotic agent, the insect pollinated. For insect pollinated flowers, the flowers, they have to be very big, brightly colored petals have to be there, scent has to be there, the sweet nectar has to be there as a welcome drink for the insects to visit the flower. And yes, the pollen grains, they have to be sticky or spiny so that they can stick to the body of the insects, and when the insects come for nectar to the flower, the pollen grains stick to the sticky stigma enter. So the nature has helped the uh, flowers to get themselves pollinated very nicely with the help of the biotic agent called insect. Then now if we try to compare both insect and wind pollinated flowers, we see that in case of insect pollinated flowers, the features are totally different from the wind one. That petals, they have to be very light, large, brightly colored, scented, and no such features are there in case of wind pollinated flowers. Similarly, no nectar is there in wind pollinated flower. Insect pollinated flowers need lot of nectar. In case of insect pollinated flower, both the stamens and the carpels, they are within the flower waiting for the insects to come and visit and get sticked onto the body of the insect. But in case of wind pollinated flowers, heterostyly is the condition. If the stamens, they are long, the filaments, they are so long that they help the anthers to hang outside the flower so that they are exposed to the wind. Or if the carpels are long, the style is so long that they hang the stigma out of the flower to capture the pollen grains. Similarly, if we talk about the amount of pollen grains, wind pollinated flowers, they should have maximum amount of pollen grains as compared to the insect pollinated flowers. The next pollinated flowers, they are the ornithophilous flowers by birds. The features shown by these flowers, they are similar like the insect ones, that they're but with slight variation, that we see that in bird pollinated flowers, the petals, they are very bright, but the petal texture is leathery and thick. They have a lot of nectar to be produced so that when birds are coming, they have sufficient amount to drink. But this nectar is held in a floral tube made by the petals, and no fragrance is required or no landing place, and nature has favored in this adaptation that the beak of the birds is equivalent to the length of the floral tube. This is another wonderful feature. Next is that there are, apart from all these, there are many other animals also like bats. The phenomena is called chiropterophilia, and here the bats, they have no vision, so the flowers, they need not be bright. They are light faded but big flowers with lot of fragrance as well as nectar. And in case of snails, they are also not left behind. They are also helping in pollination, and the phenomena is called as malacophyly. Now, this largest robust mammal, elephant, is also helping in pollination, and we see the best example is the Rafflesia flower. Apart from Rafflesia flower, elephants also help in other flowers like petunia for pollination. We see that even human beings are not left behind. Even they have tried to help in pollination, where they deliberately select two plants to develop a new variety after the union of these, and this is called as a hybrid variety. Here a male flower, from there pollen grains are selected and sprinkled on a stigma of a female flower, and after that the female flower is covered by a bag so that further no pollen grains land on them. And now after this union, the seed which is formed from this are of a better and a improved variety. Now if we talk about pollination in case of a bisexual flower through hybridization, there the male part is removed from the flower, and the female part on that is the stigma, it receives the pollen grains which we are wanting to select from a selected variety of the plant. And again here also it is covered by a bag where no further contamination can take place, and here also the seed formed is of a improved variety. So we see that uh, through cross-pollination, there are always a better and an improved variety which is formed. Hope you enjoyed this lecture. An assignment would be following this. So please try to attempt it. Thank you.